So today we have Miss Joanne Morales with us. I believe are you the center director of Metro Career Center?
Metro Career Center? The center manager, yes.
Center manager, okay.
Manager, okay.
He's going to, I'm hearing you echo. So she's going to share with us some tips on getting that holiday job. You know, the holiday season is upon us. Even just this morning, I was dropping my dog off at Doggy Daycare, and I saw that Rubio's was hiring, and I've seen different signs around town. And so she's going to share with us some tips on how to best get that job. So take it away, Joanne. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today about seasonal job search and how you can snag that job. And it all really begins with your mindset. So, and my slides are a little slow in responding, so it might just be a minute in between each slide. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This is a quote by Napoleon Hill. And no matter what the age a person is who's seeking employment, if they have the mindset that they're going to get a job, normally they get a job fairly quickly. If they have the mindset that, oh, it's difficult, it's hard, nobody wants me, then that's what they experience. So we really do need to make sure that we have the right mindset no matter what age we are when we're seeking employment. So I'm going to go over today what a structured job search would look like, whether you're seeking full-time employment, part-time employment, seasonal employment. The first thing is you want to know what type of work that you're interested in and what job titles fall within the industries of interest. So are you interested in being a cashier, a customer service representative, a clerk, administrative assistant, etc. And how you find out what job titles fall within different industries is by doing a little bit of research. And part of that is just going on to a website like Indeed and taking a look at inputting the type of job you think you might want. Let's say you want to be a cashier. You would enter cashier, and what would come up would be all the different types of employers that have cashier positions open. And that helps you to look at different industries that would hire cashiers. I mean, you have the automotive industry, you've got retail, you've got 7-Eleven, so you got the quick run in and get something stores. But there's a lot of different types of industries and different types of positions. A customer service representative could be in retail, but a customer service representative could also be in insurance. So you really have to take a little bit of time to do a little bit of research. And then you have to know what are the required skills for the position that you're interested in. And these skills are what the employer needs. So when you're looking at a job announcement, you're always looking at what are the requirements, what are they looking for, what's going to meet their needs. And you have to be able to answer, do I have those skills, or do I have what's called transferable skills that could meet the employer's needs? Another question you're going to ask is a resume required to apply for this position? Or can I just complete an application and submit the application? So for some jobs, they're going to require that you submit a resume along with the application. Whereas other jobs, they just want you to complete a short application and submit the application. If a position requires a resume, do you have a resume? If not, how do you create a resume? And then, are you keeping track of the applications that you're submitting? This is one key factor that a lot of people forget to do. And when they forget to follow up on applications they've submitted, they may have easily lost out on possible positions could have obtained. It's really important throughout the job search that you follow up with all employers that you have applied with. So I'm going to start first of all talking about a little bit about skills and transferable skills. So we all have skills. We have a variety of skills, and skills are usually what's needed to get a job or the task done. So some examples of skills are good communication, a team player, leadership, writing skills, math skills, organization, problem solving, motivation. When you think about it, you've been learning skills your entire life. So you know, and you have the ability to have anywhere from 500 to thousands of skills that you're able to do, that you're capable of doing. It's a matter of whether or not those skills relate to what the employer needs. So it's always a good idea to sit down and start keeping a list of the skills that you have, so that when you start looking at what employers want, you can compare your list to what the employer needs and see, do I fit this employer's needs? Transferable skills are skills and abilities that you can transfer from one job or experience to another. So a transferable skill could be a skill that you used in one job or volunteer experience that, because you have that skill, it could transition into a totally different type of job, but it's a skill that's needed in that profession as well. Some examples of transferable skills are communication skills, both written and oral communication. Problem-solving skills, those can be used in a variety of industries. Leadership skills, teamwork, mathematical or numeracy skills, motivation, organization, listening, research, and computer and technology. And people are kind of surprised. The number of people we see coming through the Career Center, oftentimes they're of all ages, and they don't realize that even some of the jobs they think would not require technology actually do require technology. So for example, if somebody came in and wanted to be a truck driver, but didn't know how to, do the basic skills of a computer, they might have problems, because now instead of having the paper logs, truck driving is going to computer logs. And so it is important that people understand that as the world evolves, so do the job requirements, even for minimal and seasonal jobs. And it's taken my computer just a minute to forward to the next slide. So when you have your list of skills, it's going to be really important that you have that before you start to begin to create a resume. And the reason is because this is what's going to go onto your resume. In addition to looking at the job announcement so that you can tailor your resume to the job announcement, you also want to be able to speak to the skills that meet the employer's needs on your resume. There are 3 different types of resumes that you can create, usually for a seasonal job or for somebody who doesn't have too much experience. A functional resume is going to work best for them. There's also a chronological resume and a combination resume. So the first resume, the functional resume, this resume focuses on the skills that you have rather than any past work experience or volunteer experience. And this is normally a 1-page resume. So an example of a functional resume should be coming up any minute now. I apologize for this. Just shows at the top of the resume, you want to make sure that you have your name and your contact information. So usually for contact information, you don't necessarily need to put your address on the resume, but what you do need to have on the resume is a good phone number where an employer can contact you and a good email address. Employers vary. Some will call you and some will send you an email requesting an interview. So you want to make sure you have both a phone number and an email. Your home address does not have to go onto the resume. The skills summary is usually in this area. You want to maybe highlight 1 or 2 of your strengths, but also mention the job that you're looking to obtain. So for example, if you're looking to obtain a cashier's position, say at Target, you might note on there that you're an individual who has, technological strengths, who's seeking a cashier experience at Target. And the technology comes in because obviously all of their cash registers and everything are computerized and everything right now. So you want to make sure that you're speaking to that. The next section, this one says professional accomplishments. What I would put there is I would put skills or abilities that you might have. And what you want to do is you want to look at the job announcement for the job that you're applying for, and you want to highlight 3 key features that the employer is looking for. And then you want to note those 3 key features and how you can meet those needs of the employer. So for example, the employer may state that you have to have good customer service skills, or it may state that you have to have good mathematical skills, or it might state that you have to pay attention to detail. So if you have those skills, maybe not in that type of environment, but you have those skills that you've learned maybe in school or through volunteer experience, then you speak to those skills that you have in this area of your resume. So in the professional accomplishments or skills and accomplishments sections. And then below that, you're going to, in a very minimum way, you're going to list your work or your experience. Now, if you have no employment experience, but you have volunteer experience, feel free to list your volunteer experience, but note that it was a volunteer experience. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your position or title and whoever it was that you volunteered for, so the organization or the company that you volunteered for, and then the time frame, the dates that you volunteered there. So for example, let's say you volunteered at, let's say your church has a coffee cart and you volunteer there on Sundays, say from 10 to 12. So you would note the position, cashier or customer service at St. Paul's Church. And then you would just note the dates that you've done that. So let's say you started last year, let's say you started in January of 2020 and you continue to do that. You would note January 2020 to present if you're still doing that. And that's how you would list your volunteer service or any work experience as well. And then if you have a high school diploma or a degree, then you would note that under education. If not, you don't have to put an education section there. The next resume is a chronological resume. And usually a chronological resume will focus on somebody's work experience with their most recent position listed first. A chronological resume is usually used by someone who has more experience under their belt, and they want to be able to list those experiences and share those experiences with a future employer. So this is a sample chronological resume. And on the top section, again, you've got the customer's name. This customer decided to go ahead and put their home address, but again, you don't need your home address. You can just put a phone number and an email contact. The next section usually is a section that states what you're applying for and what skills or abilities you're going to bring to this position, how you can best assist the employer. And then they have their professional experience. So as you can see under this one, instead of just listing the job title and the employer and when they worked for that employer and the location, they also list bullet points underneath that of duties or tasks that they completed when they worked with that employer. This is something that was not on the functional resume, but is on the chronological resume, because this is where somebody highlights the skills that they have. You always list on the chronological resume your most recent position first, and then any position prior to that after that. And then below that, if you have education, and then if you have any additional skills. Now you can always mix up the chronological resume, and you can, if you feel that your additional skills are more relevant than your past work experience, you can always move the additional skills from the bottom up in between your opening summary and before your professional experience. So you can be flexible with the format. The third type of resume is a combination resume, and this resume emphasizes both your skills and accomplishments as well as your work history. So it kind of marries the functional and the chronological resume together. So this is a sample of a combination resume, and Again, on this one, on the top, you always have your name as well as your contact information. Now, this particular person put on the very top above their name the position that they're applying for, Office Assistant 1. Whether you're putting it there or whether you're putting it in the objective or in the summary or in the opening statement on your functional, you always want to state the position that you're applying for. The objective is always going to speak to how you're going to meet the needs in this office assistant position of the employer. From there, you're going to list your skills. And if you have a lot of skills that relate to the job announcement, so you're looking at the job announcement and they're saying that you need to be able to type 40 words per minute, you need to be able to use Excel spreadsheets and things like that. If you have those skills that they're speaking to on the application, make sure you list those skills underneath your skills. And you can do it in this format, or you can use bullets, whatever is going to work best for you, and whatever you think is going to look nicest. From there, you would then list your previous work experience. And then again, if you had education, you would list your education. So once you've completed your application and submitted your resume, hopefully the next thing that's going to happen is an employer is going to call you for an interview. And to prepare for the interview, you always want to be able to speak to your strengths, and you want to be confident in doing so. So again, if you've taken the time to really go over and list your skills and review the job announcement and know how you can best meet that employer's need, you can then create a personal commercial, or what they call an elevator pitch, in order to answer the employer's questions. Often, when you first meet with an employer, one of the questions they'll ask you is to tell me about yourself. This is a perfect opportunity for you to use a personal commercial. You are, in a sense, a business of one. You're marketing for yourself because you know that you're the best person for this position. And so you want to go in with that confidence, knowing that you can do the job and do the job well. So the personal commercial, or elevator pitch as some people call it, is just a short introduction of yourself. It's usually about 30 seconds to a minute, and it's a pitch about how, what you have to offer an employer to help meet their needs. You always want to make sure that you use descriptive and concise, clear language, that you're selling your abilities, your skills, and all the experiences that you've had, and that you emphasize your strengths and how they meet the employer's needs. So how you're going to write an elevator pitch or personal commercial is you're going to begin with a greeting of introducing yourself. Second, you're going to state your goal. So what type of position that you're looking for, or internship that you're looking for, with the employer's name. And then you're interested in, or you have experience or strengths that are beneficial to this employer. So for example, an elevator pitch that I might use is, my name is Joanne Morales. I'm a certified workforce development professional seeking a managerial position with ABC Company, and I have the ability to counsel, lead, and motivate employees to meet and exceed performance goals. So if I was going into a manager's position, I've kind of highlighted, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I bring to the table, and this is how I can help you. And that's what you're trying to do in a short personal commercial. When you've written out your personal commercial, and this will take a little bit of time, but again, it's definitely worth the time because you're not just going to use it in interviews, and I'll go into it in a few minutes how you can also, other ways that you can also use the personal commercial. But once you have one written out that you feel confident in, then you want to make sure that you practice your personal commercial in front of a mirror. Once you're confident and you feel like you've got it memorized, you've practiced in front of the mirror and you feel good about it, start practicing in front of your parents, teachers, mentors. You want this to flow naturally for you. You want to believe in yourself and believe in what you're saying, because the personal commercial is something that you can use not just if you're in an interview and they ask you, oh, what strengths do you have, or tell me about yourself, but you can also use your personal commercial when you're networking. And whether you realize it or not, you should always be looking for new opportunities and networking, because opportunities will come not from what you know, but oftentimes from who you know. You would be amazed at how many people find jobs from a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend in that industry, and let me introduce you. And if somebody wants to do that for you, then you want to be able to market yourself as a business of one to that individual to make them want to know more about you and learn more about you and see how you could benefit their company. So networking is key. Even when you get that seasonal job, you would be amazed how many people start a seasonal job thinking it's just going to be for the season, but because they have done so well in their position, in their seasonal position, the organization, the employer decides to keep them on after the holiday season has ended. And if that's something that you're looking for, if you're looking for something part-time or even full-time that could possibly extend beyond the holiday season is your way to get your foot in the door. And again, depending on how well you do your job and how well you network with other people, either in that same organization or within other organizations, determines what other opportunities are going to open up for you. It's a little slow here. Finally, it's always important to follow up. Whenever you are applying for positions, oftentimes I see people, oh yeah, I've applied to 10 different places, but nobody has called me. So my question is, okay, tell me where you've applied. And then I get sometimes a blank stare from people because they can't remember every place they've applied. So it is really, really important to keep track of every place that you're applying. And so even if you have just a spreadsheet or a piece of paper where you're writing things down, and what you're going to write down is you're going to write down the date that you've applied, the name of the employer. So on 10/20, I applied to Target at Plaza Bonita. You know, I submitted my application online, or if you went in person and you submitted the application, however they're accepting applications. If there's a point of contact, make sure you have that person's name as well as a phone number or email address. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep track of that, of all the places that you've applied. And then if it's been a week or so and you haven't heard back from some place that you've applied, if you have a phone number, you can always call that employer and say, oh, I just wanted to follow up. I applied for the cashier position that was posted, and I applied on October 20th, and I just wanted to see where you're at in the hiring process or if that position has already been filled. Oftentimes what that shows to an employer is that you're motivated. Also that you're organized because you have kept track of where you've applied. And an employer always likes somebody who's motivated and who's organized because they know that they can count on that person if they give them a project or something that they need to have done right away, that this person's going to get it done. So it's always good to follow up with them. Oftentimes they'll take your name. If they can't tell you right then and there, oftentimes they will take your name and give you a call back and say, oh, well, let me give you a call back once I know. And what they're doing is they're going in and they're pulling your resume or they're pulling your application, and they're putting your application hopefully at the top of the stack, because there are a lot of people that will be applying for positions and you want to stand out. And the way that you stand out is by following up, and follow up with every employer that you apply to that maybe you don't get a call for an interview. If you call and they say, oh, we've already filled the position, one question you might ask is, oh, okay, thank you. I was just wondering, is there something that my resume or my application was missing that you were looking for? Just so that you know for further applications, what you might want to include on your resume or on your application. Are there any questions at this time?
I thought it was really interesting. Joanne, I think we'll have to mute when we talk.
Pardon me?
I think you have to mute when we get feedback.
Okay, let me stop sharing here. I will send you the PowerPoint. Let me mute here.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting that you mentioned that you don't have to add your address to resumes, since I certainly have been doing that forever, but I always felt sort of weird about it. Like, why do they need to know where I live?
Right. And, one thing that we say is don't let the employer decide whether or not a commute is too far for you. So, for example, if I live in Chula Vista and I'm applying for a position in Oceanside and I have on my resume my Chula Vista address, an employer may not even look at my resume. They're going to look at the address and say, oh, that's too far of a commute. That person's never going to get here on time. They're already going to make a decision about me without even knowing anything about me. I want to be the one to make the decision as to whether or not I can make that commute.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then I was also thinking along the lines of, like, what if somebody is staying in a temporary shelter, or maybe they are worried that the employer might be subconsciously elitist about where somebody lives. I was thinking along those lines too.
Right. There's all different reasons as to why most people today, we encourage them just to go ahead and leave your address off of your resume and just make sure that you have a good phone number and a good email contact. Are there any other questions?
Okay, we have a question in the chat. Diamond is asking, what about following up with a position via email when phone number is not made available? Yeah, I think that's a great question, because for example, I'm thinking, like, let's say you're trying to get a job at Target. Well, do they actually answer the phone? Because I know when I try to call Target, they don't. So yeah, what's the best way to handle that when the employer is not answering phones?
You can absolutely email to follow up. There's no problem with that, especially if you have a good point of contact email address. Sometimes if you're applying at Target and you know the location you're applying at, you've put down a certain location and you haven't heard back, sometimes all it takes is walking into the store and asking if you could speak to the manager and just saying, oh, I put in an application. By the way, here's a copy of my resume. Have the resume with you. And I just wanted to follow up to see where you're at in the hiring process. And sometimes that in and of itself gets your foot in the door. It's a matter of being motivated and taking the initiative.
Any other questions, anybody? Okay, well, that was wonderful. And we have kind of like a little workshop recording library, so definitely going to add this to it so that students can refer back, because I know everyone is eager to get employment.
Yes, and I just want to say the career centers, we also have programs. We are partnered with Access, who also work with youth 16 to 24. And so youth are welcome to come into the career centers to attend recruitments and stuff that we offer. We are going to be offering, and I'll send you a flyer about it, Anna, once we have it confirmed that we can send it out. We're going to have a resource and recruitment fair on November 10th, where we will have employers here as well. And so I'll share the flyer with you to please share with your students and family and encourage them to come on out. But I can tell you the San Diego Convention Center right now is hiring for their Comic-Con at the end of November. And they're here at the Career Center every Wednesday from 10:30 to 1. So anyone that's interested in applying with them can come on in, and they will also be at our resource and recruitment fair on November 10th.
Well, that is fantastic. And students, we also have Access in our building. So reach out to your counselor to make that connection. they might be only at the site once a week or so, but we can definitely make that connection for you.
Yeah, we have access counselors here at the Metro office 5 days a week. So if they can't connect with them at school, they can always come into the Career Center.
Yay. All right. Well, I think I can hit stop record if I can figure out how to do it. Great question, Diamond. She's asking if there's a difference between a job and a career.
I would say absolutely yes. A job sometimes is something that you need to sustain yourself. I mean, meet your basic needs. Oftentimes, a career is something that you're passionate about. So a job might be, for some people, a job is, working at Target as a cashier or a stock person or something like that. And a teacher is more of a career. You have a passion about it. It's something that you go to school for, you want to work towards all your life. A welder. We oftentimes don't look at vocations as careers, but they have some excellent careers in the vocational industries as well, and we don't want to forget that. So maybe you don't want to go into academics, but you want a career. Welding is a great career to have, where you do some vocational training. CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant, is a great career to have that is not going to take a whole lot of education, but can get you into the industry fairly quickly. So it's really a matter of looking at what your passions are, and that's going to take you into a career. Whereas a job is something, it could be seasonal, it could be something part-time, it could be something that you're doing to get to the next level or to get to the career that you actually want. It's a stepping stone, so to say. And it may not be in the same industry, but it's still giving you new skills and experiences that can transfer into a new industry or career. Someone can change their career as often as they like. You would be amazed at the number of people that come through here that are on their third or fourth transition as far as careers are concerned. So, yeah,
Don't
as often as you like.
Most professionals change their job every 5 years.
Nowadays, yes. Yes. It used to be back in the day, people were in the same position for a lifetime just about. But yeah, most people do change careers or positions within every 5 to 10 years. One thing you have to think about, though, is if you're transitioning from one career to another, is what skills you have that will transfer into the new industry, and do you need any additional education in order to transition into a new career? So that's going to play into effect as to whether or not it would be expensive to transition into another career, because some careers are going to require additional education or training.
All right. Last chance for any questions. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.